Hello, I'm Colin and here are today's headlines from Pink 60. After a 2-year trial, a judge will deliver his verdict in January, possibly sending the former Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia to jail for 20 years. Anwar Ibrahim is accused of raping his male political aide in 2008. Northern Cyprus has agreed to remove laws which criminalise homosexuality after new legislation was submitted earlier this year. The unrecognised state is not bound by EU conventions on human rights. Women's tennis champion Margaret Court has condemned marriage equality, saying she wants to protect families. Martina Navratilova said her myopic view is truly frightening, as well as damaging to the thousands of children already living in same-gender families. AIDS care reports a split within the gay community, where HIV-negative men do not mix socially with HIV-positive men. It also says HIV stigma is having a negative impact on the emotional health of all gay men. And finally, George Clooney will star in a play about the US gay marriage bill Proposition 8. Directed by Rob Reiner, the play will only run for one night at a theatre in LA. That's all from us today. Join us again tomorrow.
Thaguardian News. John Bercow is right if the special relationship means anything. Raphael Bear. Aesop's fable of the boy who cried wolf teaches that it is not a good idea to fabricate dangers when there are none. But it doesn't contain any practical advice for what to do when danger really arrives. Put yourself in the shepherd boy's shoes. He has already lost his reputation as a spotter of wolves. The villagers think him a liar. Then he sees the real thing. What option does he have but to cry wolf again? He is forced to use the only defense mechanism available. Or should he stay penitently silent, hoping the feral canine predator is, by some miracle, actually vegetarian? You've guessed where this is heading. There have been sightings of incipient fascism in the actions of democratically elected governments for as long as I can remember. When Margaret Thatcher faced down striking miners, her left-wing antagonists weren't shy of the F-word. When Tony Blair wanted to introduce mandatory ID cards, his liberal critics plotted the policy alongside anti-terror laws and antisocial behavior orders, charting a gradient towards tyranny. Oppositions never seem to accept that democracy is on a horizontal axis. It must be on a slope, and a slippery one too. The horrors that lie at the bottom are belittled by constant, casual hyperbole. There will always be someone on the left willing to decry Western foreign policy as cold-blooded colonial expansionism. There will always be some conservative fanatic trying to draw equivalence between the European Union and the USSR. But there is an essential difference between the current moment and past sightings of totalitarian shadows. When previous prime ministers or US presidents upset rival parties or affronted liberal sensibility, the alarm was mostly theoretical. A handful of paranoiacs might have believed that Tony Blair or Barack Obama were actual dictators. The more pertinent claim was that some legal apparatus was being created and should be resisted, lest the power one day fall into the wrong hands. With Donald Trump, the objection is not abstract, he is the wrong hands. Willingness to grasp that distinction is a dividing line in the debate over how much deference should be shown to the US president when he visits Britain this year. On Monday, the Commons Speaker, John Bercow, picked a side by saying Trump would not be welcome in Parliament. The government sees his intervention as irresponsible diplomatic freelancing. Tory MPs have heaped scorn on Bercow, saying he has embarrassed the country and harmed its interests. Opposition MPs have mostly supported the Speaker. Bercow has authority over parliamentary invitations to foreign dignitaries, so he was not overreaching in a technical sense. But he was pushing hard at the bounds of convention. The Speaker's chair has not previously been used to launch accusations of racism, sexism, and contempt for the rule of law at a US president. Then again, no US president has invited the charges so brazenly. Tory MPs say Trump's flaws must be overlooked because of the famous special relationship. There may be a handful of conservative MPs who admire Trump and would gladly see him caressed with the plushest pomp British protocol can muster. The majority Tory view is more nuanced. It is that intimacy with US presidents is an unshakable axiom of British diplomacy, made strategically urgent now that the country is preparing to quit the EU. Trump holds the office, and so tributes traditionally paid to that office must be paid to Trump, whether you like him or not. Besides, Parliament has hosted any number of violent dictators and kleptocratic scoundrels. The Speaker has shaken blood-soaked hands before. His Tory critics see the sudden discovery of a pious veto on visits as self-aggrandizing, hypocritical theatre. Even Bercow's friends wouldn't pretend that he is immune to vanity. So Tory MPs say Trump's flaws must be overlooked because of the famous special relationship, and buttress that opinion by noting that other leaders are not subjected to the same extreme moral vetting process. These look like two aspects of the same argument, varieties of realpolitik, but they are in contradiction. The reason we want a special relationship with America is that, historically, we share more than transient economic and military interests. There is a cultural affinity and an alliance based on common political ethics. And the reason to dislike Trump is that he traduces those values. It is a backhanded kind of tribute to say a US president must be cut some slack over contempt for democratic norms because we don't give the leader of the Chinese Communist Party a hard time about that stuff. With this logic, Tory Trump apologists are downgrading the special relationship, not defending it. They are adopting a relativistic view of American power, detached from principles enshrined in the US Constitution. This approach would be familiar to the far left, except the conservatives want to nuzzle under the wing of an amoral superpower while the old Leninists want to take it down. There has always been a strain of European anti-Americanism that treats the US as a colossal rogue state whose claims to champion freedom are just a cover story for rapacious imperialism. That used to be a facile caricature, drawn by focusing exclusively on Washington's most cynical foreign policy escapades while ignoring the civic and cultural virtues that flow from a rich tradition of political and religious tolerance. Now there is a president who wants to rip up those traditions and refashion the US so it better conforms to the ugliest stereotypes projected by its enemies. Yet Tory MPs struggle to disown him. It isn't hard. A truly pro-American position, whether motivated by realpolitik or cultural affection, cannot want Trump's presidency to succeed. His temperament does not tolerate democratic restraint. He wants his whim enacted as law. His entourage organizes his prejudices into an aggressive nationalist ideology. Such a project is antithetical to US interests, let alone British ones. Whether it can be called actual fascism or is just fascistic in style hardly matters. No, the lights of American democracy have not gone out. Yes, the alarm has been sounded prematurely and wrongly many times before. But sometimes, even when the cry sounds drearily familiar, the danger is new and real. Wolf.
Samples of DNA until the case finally saw a break last week. You know, it's kind of funny how all the blacks now, you know, they all coming out of the woodwork and say, well, DNA, that's like a white man's invention to get blacks in jail. You know, this is the mentality that you're dealing with. They don't believe in any science. You know, they don't believe in anything except the kind of, you know, the hatred for the white man. Lewis' DNA was linked to a genetic material found under Ventrano's fingernails on her back and on her backpack, authorities have said. He later confessed to strangling the runner, source said. Okay, at the press conference, Joyce singled out Russo, the Detective Russo, saying that he deserves a lot of credit. He followed up on a memory of his when someone was stopped for suspicious behavior. Now, you know, this is the thing, you know, it's kind of like the police, it's kind of interesting how they pursue these cases. Usually when it's like white on white, then they do then they assign like, you know, a half a dozen detectives to do it. When it's black on black, they don't give a damn. You know that, right? When it's black on white, again, they don't give a damn, or they kind of try to, you know, keep it undercover because they don't want the bad publicity. You know, they don't want to be accused of racism. You know, I mean, something's got to be done about this, because you got these black criminals coming into white areas and committing this barbaric, savage, diabolical crimes, and the police doesn't want to get involved too much unless they have a video or something, because they don't want to be accused of racism. And this got to stop. Lewis confessed to the detective that he killed the 30-year-old Vetrano after he crossed paths with her on her daily jog across a desolate dirt path nearby her home. Lewis attacked Vetrano inside Central Park, strangling her, they said. The East New York resident, East New York, right? I mean, if you ever want to see the greatest collection of criminals, go to East New York. This is like almost like an open prison. It's almost like East New York, like Harlem and like, you know, Newark, Detroit, you know, where all the savages live. It's like having a prison without doors. All the criminals just roam around, you know, and God forbid you drive through there. Yeah. Okay. And now this article is kind of interesting. He said that this POS, authorities and classmates have added that he had a lot of anger toward toward women. Now, see, he says toward women. It really is toward white people, because studies have been done, really, that blacks make 9 out of 10 black families make more racially derogatory comments toward others, including, you know, Asians and Hispanic, but especially white people. 9 out of 10. I mean, this is the statistic. Only 1 out of 10 family make derogatory remarks about others. So it's like this is a population that's raised on hatred toward really everybody, but especially white people. So this guy didn't have hatred toward women. He had hatred toward whites. You know why? Because her parents, her neighbors, and everybody else, this POS knows, has the same opinion. You just have to read the comments, really. You just read the comments here and everywhere else, and you know what you're dealing with. I mean, it's no wonder they have strokes by the time they're like, you know, 52. You see all those blacks with, you know, stroke victims and heart attacks, because they carry so much hatred, because they resent white people for being successful, intelligent, and humans. See, they resent humans, that's all. And so the mayor was there, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is, you know, this is the kind of population that you're dealing with. And they interviewed, the mother who sired this POS, you know, and they sired this offsprings like rats, you know. And she had an accent, so you know she's like from one of the shitholes, like, you know, Haiti, Nigeria, Jamaica, you know, Trinidad, Tobago, and all this Africans with this IQ of like 60. We invite them in, and, you know, but in the end, I don't blame them too much. I blame the white liberals who actually allow these Africans in. See, I don't even care whether Mexicans and Middle Easterners come to this country. At least they come here and they work. You know, 1 in like 10 million of them is a terrorist. I could care less, all right? There are more people dying from bathroom accidents, falling down the stairs or something, than from terrorism. I don't care about that. You know, and I don't even care about Mexicans. At least they come to this country, and before long, they're sending their children to Harvard. Blacks have been in this country for 200 years, and they still are a burden on society. They serve absolutely no purpose whatsoever. They're, you know, billions and trillions of dollars have got, you know, they have the audacity to want reparation. White people have been paying, unfortunately, we have been paying reparation to this